Senator Bernie Sanders, who easily won his re-election bid on Tuesday, is now criticizing the Democratic Party and its leadership in the wake of Donald Trump's resounding win and Republican gains across the country. Sanders, an independent who caucuses with Democrats, released a statement yesterday that reads in part this: "It should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that working class has abandoned them. First, it was the white working class, and now it is Latino and black workers as well. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change. And they're right." Joining us now, one of our stalwarts, senior NBC News national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, thanks again for joining us this morning. So let's talk about Senator Sanders' criticism there. How did the Democrats take these working class voters, including voters of color, for granted? And talk to us about what the Trump campaign sees as his appeal to that same group.
It's a great question, Jonathan. I mean, first of all, I think Sanders is largely right. Obviously the numbers show that he's right. On the other hand, he was leading Joe Biden's agenda from the Senate. He was writing budgets. It's an odd person to make the criticism that Democrats abandoned the working class, because he was right there at every step of the way. In terms of what they're going to need to do to get back working class voters, particularly the voters of color that they lost, I think they have to start from what is it that those voters actually want. Not what is it that the politicians want that they can sell to those voters, but what is it that those voters want? If you look at the two campaigns, you had the most Trump voters said their biggest issue was the economy. Second most was immigration. For Harris voters, it was democracy and abortion. The two candidates were talking about completely different things. And to Bernie Sanders' point, in most elections, the candidate that's winning on the economy is the one that is winning the election.
Yeah, certainly that's one of the many things Democrats are looking at as they come to grips with what happened on Tuesday. There's a lot of regret, a lot of finger pointing, and John, a lot of those fingers are pointed at President Joe Biden. Belief that had he stepped out of this race sooner, perhaps after the 2022 midterms, that would have given either A, Vice President Harris more time to introduce herself to voters, or create a primary process where, whether it's Harris or someone else, would have come out of there sharpened and toughened and better known. Talk to us about the latest you've heard from the party as they look at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and assess some blame.
I mean, certainly there's a belief among a lot of Democrats that the original sin was Joe Biden choosing to run for re-election. Whatever we've seen from him, I think Nancy Pelosi asked condition or episode, whatever we've seen from him over time, there's been a progression. And there were signs before he got into this campaign that he was certainly slowing down physically, that he had some challenges beyond just the physical. And he decided to run anyway. There was not a hue and cry in public to try to stop him from doing that. Certainly there were Democrats I spoke to at the time that thought it was a bad idea, but they weren't going to go out there. They weren't going to get read out of their party for heresy. So, that's part of the discussion here. But also, I think most Democrats thought going into Election Day that Kamala Harris had a pretty good chance of winning, and then were surprised to find out that she didn't. So there was not so much criticism of Biden before the results came in.
Yeah, certainly a lot of this is Monday morning quarterbacking. One senior Democrat telling me that it was insulting to voters that they think that an 81-year-old Joe Biden could have won again. John, though, but Biden did hover over this campaign. And look, a lot of Democrats think that Vice President Harris, as you said, ran just about as good of a campaign as she could have in the 100 and odd days or so that she was the candidate. But one misstep has been pointed out to me by several, which is when she went on The View and asked to differentiate herself from President Biden, didn't really have an answer. Biden's polling remains underwater. Democrats you talk to, how much of a role do you think that played?
Yeah, I mean, many of them think that she should have been able to separate themselves from a president who was unpopular, period. But that was not something she did. I'm sure the next few weeks will help us understand why. But yeah, that definitely did not help her.
Yeah, I mean, some of that out of loyalty, I am certain, but that was a pivotal moment to be sure. Lots of analysis ahead about where Democrats go from here. Senior NBC News national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, thank you as always. We'll talk to you again real soon.